Welcome to this e-lecture on subsumption theory. By the end of this lecture, you should be able to explain the basic principles of subsumption theory, describe ways subsumption theory can be applied to instructional design, analyze the strengths and weaknesses of subsumption theory, and compare subsumption theory to learning theories that share some similarities. Subsumption theory was developed in the 1960s by psychologist David Ausubel to explain how people learn and incorporate new information through visual, textual, or verbal materials in a classroom setting. Subsumption outlines a way of creating instructional material that helps learners organize content in order to make it meaningful for transfer. According to this theory, the acquisition of knowledge is based on the actual processes that occur during learning. The key process that takes place in the learner's brain is called subsumption, where new content is related to background knowledge in order for students to create meaning and comprehend the new information. Subsumers, the anchoring or big ideas, facilitate learning. Retention is influenced by the strength of the cognitive structure to incorporate subsuming concepts. Therefore, learning can be increased by strengthening the cognitive structure, and one way of doing this is to introduce appropriate subsumers prior to the new lesson. Specific details or particular ideas can then be absorbed into the big ideas or the cognitive structure. In the classroom, learners should be presented with the big picture first, and then in more detail. The instructional materials should provide background knowledge and new information. The new material or information is incorporated into existing long-term memory. The goal for instructors is to provide connections for pre-existing knowledge and what is about to be learned. A key tool developed from subsumption theory is the advanced organizer. Advanced organizers are not to be confused with opening remarks or overviews. Instead, they are general ideas presented prior to new information to bridge the gap between what is already known and what is to be learned. The idea behind the use of advanced organizers is to present the big ideas to students first, then illustrating the relationship between the new information to be learned to their background knowledge of the subject. The four types of advanced organizers are expository organizers that provide a description of new knowledge, narrative organizers present the new information in a story format, skimming organizers scan through the information to be presented, and graphic organizers include pictographs, descriptive or conceptual patterns, and concept maps. Graphic organizers are used frequently in K-12 classrooms. Some common examples are the KWL chart to organize new information and the Venn diagram to help compare and contrast new information. Ausubel's work has strong grounds in constructivist theory, a well-researched model for learning. Some of the strongest criticism of Ausubel's work has been around the use of advanced organizers. There is some skepticism as to why it would be useful for students, especially when teaching things like reading comprehension, to have abstract concepts outlined for them prior to presenting new material. Another potential weakness in subsumption theory is the reliance on teacher-directed instruction. The student takes a fairly passive role within the learning environment, often receiving verbal information without requiring much engagement on his or her part. Subsumption theory is closely aligned with Jerome Bruner's constructivist model. In this framework, learning is an active process in which learners construct new ideas or concepts based upon their current or past knowledge. Although both subsumption theory and the constructivist model share a central idea, subsumption theory, rather than being a psychology-based model, was developed exclusively for instructional design. In what ways have you seen elements of subsumption theory being used in classroom settings? Perhaps when different types of advanced organizers are presented to help organize information, or when you see the activation of prior knowledge through brainstorming or mind mapping. Both of these are common elements in lesson plans and have their roots in subsumption theory of learning. I hope you have enjoyed this e-lecture. Thank you for listening.